morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to wait for a couple moments to give everyone a chance to get connected. So 2 minutes after 9, we'll get started. We're going to test the audio for a moment. If you just go ahead and let us know if you can hear us or not. If you cannot hear us, actually, okay, thumbs up. Thank you.
And as Janet said before, for those of you who are just joining, we're going to be getting started in about 1 more minute. We're giving people a few minutes to log on.
Because we had problems with our video this morning, so thank goodness you can see our faces, because otherwise
thank goodness
you'd have been deprived of that.
All right. Should we just go ahead and get started?
Let's go.
All right.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Digital Marketing for Charter Schools. My name is Janet Johnson. I'm CMO of Charter School Capital. And to my right, I guess. I'm bad at right and left, folks. To my right is Stephanie Risto. I'm going to let her introduce herself. I have been at Charter School Capital only about 3 months now. I have come from a long time in technology marketing, working for companies like Apple, Puppet Labs, a whole bunch of other companies that you may have never heard of, but one that you may have heard of was bought by K12.com. And so I'm familiar with the charter school space, familiar with digital marketing for schools, and I'm just delighted to be here.
And we're so happy to have you. I'm Stephanie Risto. I've worked with large brands like Nike, Microsoft, WebMD, in addition to a number of smaller B2B organizations. I've been here with Charter School Capital for a year now, and just really excited to talk through some of my favorite stuff, which is digital marketing.
Yes, and we are delighted to be here together for you today. So without further ado, our agenda for today. And at the end, folks, we're going to put up a poll to see what you'd like to hear more about, and we'll go ahead and take care of helping you out with more. We are recording the session, so if you'd like to, you'll get a link to the recording that you can re-listen to and or share with your compatriots, other staff, volunteers, etc. And so feel free to go ahead and share that out. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of the baselines for digital marketing. There are some things you're going to need to do regardless of what channel you might be thinking about for digital marketing. Then we're going to go through some strategies and tactics for the most popular digital channels that Stephanie and I have worked on together and separately over the years. And then at the end of each little section, we do have some checklists of things to do and some little tips and tricks that could probably help you out. So without further ado.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add really fast, we'll be having a poll at the end of this webinar to dive into which of these tactics you'd want to dive a little bit deeper into. We're going to do as much as we can within this hour, but obviously there's a lot to cover. So get ready. So we're going to start with what is digital marketing. I mean, it should be a no-brainer, right? You know what it is because you're on this webinar, but there's some important things to note. The real benefit of digital marketing is talking with just the right person at just the right time via mobile or online in a meaningful way. Digital marketing can help your charter school overcome obstacles such as community awareness, fundraising, and enrollment. So it's an obvious no-brainer for charter schools. A vehicle for gaining nurturing and support from your community as well. So a lot of benefits to digital marketing. I guess the next question then is the how, right? So when you jump into the strategy and goals of your program, when we're looking at our marketing program, we always look to the why. So what is the objective that we're trying to reach? For schools, it's all about using your school's purpose to create a powerful marketing message. So where you start is defining your school's unique position. You guys likely already did this whenever you created your school for the sake of the authorizer. But here you're looking at how is your school different from other options? What is the essence of who you are? How will you and your staff, volunteers, and teachers consistently deliver on your school's promise? Because you're going to be translating that into your digital assets. Next, you discover what you're trying to accomplish. What is a reasonable goal for your charter school? Pick one for each campaign: increasing enrollment, building awareness in the community, new facilities, etc. One example of that is this webinar is a campaign, and our goal here is to increase engagement with our audience. So because you're here, we're doing that. Finally, you deliver. Communicate strategically and with intention. What channels will you use to connect with your audience? What's the most effective and efficient for your budget and goals? And how will you measure your results? This is a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, but these are kind of the guideposts as you're working through your program.
And it's really important to fill out the guideposts. Otherwise, you can waste time and you can waste money. The other really critical thing is to really understand who you're trying to reach with which channel. For example, social media, you may be trying to reach both parents, maybe grandparents, and students. Whereas and actually, if you have older students, in the enrollment work that you do, you probably want to have keep an eye on the students that you're trying to find and their parents and meet their needs by providing them information that is relevant to them. Every single audience is very, very different. When you're speaking to potential volunteers, it's very different from speaking to your board of directors. So keep that in mind as you're working on the different promotions for your channels. So because they're all different, I kind of wanted to show you a little bit of a study that Baby Center has done in the past, where they have shown that if you are working with Gen X moms, they're a little bit different from millennial moms in terms of what they want from online discovery. And pretty much everybody knows these days, you go online to answer your questions, your most basic questions. So digital moms and especially millennial moms really want to find organizations that understand them as parents. So you need to show that you really understand the kinds of questions that parents will be asking about your school. Your website needs to be set up that way. Your social media should be set up to answer those kinds of questions, etc. So as you look at the different channels that you're going to be going into, keep in mind, I'm trying to reach this particular audience in this particular channel, and make sure your voice is lent to that audience for that channel. I hope that makes sense. We'll show you some examples here in a moment.
So right. So when we dive into the myriad of strategies and tactics you could use, it can often become really overwhelming. What I typically fall back on is a very traditional marketing funnel that is comprised of awareness, engagement, conversion, and loyalty. In the awareness area, your objective is to, as the name kind of hints at, drive awareness of your brand. Make sure that people know what you do and what you stand for, and that you exist for grades K through whatever. Engagement, you're trying to build trust and truly engagement with your brand. Make sure that they understand you really are out there to do good in the community, that you're building that trust, and that they're having that back and forth with your brand. And conversion, finally, that's in the case of the school, that would be the enrollment. So when you're actually getting them to enroll in the school. So everything should always come back to the why. You map it to the objective and to the audience, and then out comes your baby tactic. In the case of this webinar, granted, a lot of these tactics could be applied anywhere in the funnel. Your website, your search functionality, and your paid media efforts are often going to be used to drive awareness. Make sure people know what you do. In the engagement realm, you're really going to be using email and social a lot more. So obviously you received an email from us about this webinar so that you would engage with us, as an example. And then on the conversion side of things, we're going to talk about events today and how you can leverage online and in-person events to get that enrollment or get that community involvement, whatever the goal is for the program. We're going to skip over loyalty in today's session because once you guys have a student in your school, you're probably doing such an amazing job that you have all of their siblings coming as well. But we'll skip over that one just for today. And we're going to go ahead and start with your website. Your website is really the foundation of your online presence. It is you in digital form. It should give your visitors an idea of what your school is all about. Most web visitors are looking for information. What's your school's focus? What grades do you serve? When do you start enrolling? How can they arrange a visit? Look at your site with new parent eyes and to see how do you measure up. And don't just use your eyes to do that. We often recommend go to your constituents or your parents and have them look at your site and give you feedback on what were they missing, what did they expect they didn't see, what were they surprised or delighted by, so that you can optimize as you go. I'd say most of you that are joining this webinar today probably already have a website built. So we're talking about some of the tools to build it. However, it can always be optimized. We're literally in the process on our own site right now of cleaning it up based on what we think users would want to see whenever they go there. So there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, and to that end, we thought we'd show you, a couple years ago, I worked with a charter school here in the Portland area who was really focused on STEAM ed, so STEM plus art. And they were just when you walk into the school, you could just feel the art and feel the science. And it was just an amazing, as probably your schools are, you get that sense of who they are when you're inside the organization. But from a digital perspective, their website, which was built probably 10 years ago, did not look like them at all. So what we did was try to find that real essence in images, in a slightly newer logo, that kind of thing. And now when people go to the Mitch website, and also, by the way, they weren't able to show up at all on a phone. So, and it's imperative right now, and we'll get into this in a moment, that you show up the same on both a phone and on a laptop or a computer at all. So they were not showing up. And now when you go to the Mitch website, you get a sense right off the bat of who they are and what they do and how they serve. So this is the kind of first impression that we'd like to have you tease out and try to find as you are looking at your website.
I realize the challenge with a lot of charter schools is you're looking at this as great, but who's going to work on this? Where's the money for this? Thankfully, there are a lot of tools out there that make it a lot easier right now. We use WordPress as a backend for our site, and while we don't use one of their free themes, there are a lot of free themes out there that you can customize to make it your own. Additionally, Squarespace I've used for a personal site before. My wedding site. Additionally, there's Wix.com, and that site you just saw before, Mitch's site, was built on Brand Genie. So from a checklist perspective and where to get started, the first step is really establishing your design based on the soul of your school. You know, what is important in your school? In Mitch's example, it was all about art, and so that was front and center in their website. Next, you're going to develop your content, and that's what I was talking about with identifying your audience and your tactic, and out of that comes the little baby tactic, which in this case would be your content. Map it to the visitor experience. So if the goal is to have somebody enroll in your school, make that front and center. Don't make it so that they have to get through 4 clicks in order to get there. So make sure you're thinking through the user experience on your site.
And it's a simple thing, pardon me for interrupting, but having your phone number on the homepage of the site and maybe your school hours or office hours where somebody can contact you is a really important thing, because oftentimes when people are searching for an organization, they want to know, can I call them now? Can I talk to them now? So those things should be right up top and easy to find, especially on a mobile, all right?
Yeah. I totally agree. I think the user experience is the one that we kind of forget about a lot. Like, even being in marketing, you're tasked with building a website. So you get all your content together and you put it up on a site and you're like, we've covered all of our bases. But every once in a while, it's really, really important to, if not yourself, have somebody else go on there and go through the motions of what it would be like to be a parent or a student or a board member on your site, and understand, like, what is it that they're having a hard time finding to make that easier. This is ultimately all your other tactics are trying to get people to the site. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to complete the conversion once they get here. Pick your technology. I just listed a few tools and resources to the right here, and then build it with mobile in mind. And Jana will talk a little bit about how important that is for search, but just everybody searches on their phone these days. Just put it on mobile, and then test, and test. So like I said, continue to optimize. This is a living and breathing tool that you have here, so it's never going to be a set it and forget it. Get that mindset out of the way.
And also know that every single one of the tools that we've listed here, I believe, makes mobile seamless. So it's not like you have to develop one website for a laptop or a computer and another for a mobile site. In fact, that doesn't fly anymore with the search engines, which are the gateway into your website. Know that if you were to use one of these tools, you will get a mobile site just out of the box, which is really fabulous. So you should expect to update your website every few years, honestly, if you can. And so to that end, we recommend getting volunteers and board members out of your community who know something about this kind of thing, or at least have those kinds of resources around them that they may be able to lend to the school for a 2 to 3 month project.
Yeah, you'd be shocked just how many people these days have, dove into these tools and have built sites themselves.
Like you did for your wedding.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you know any millennials out there, chances are they have built sites for others.
For their wedding.
For their wedding. Seriously.
All right, let's move on to search.
All right. SEO and search are kind of used in the digital world a little bit interchangeably. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and what that means is we need to have your school come up as a charter school when somebody is sitting at their desk or in their car looking for a charter school. And they usually do that 90-some% of the time. They're going to look at Google or Bing. If you work for Microsoft or some subsidiary of Microsoft, you'll use Bing. But most people are searching in Google. And so it is not easy, although it is free. All you have to do is spend time to create good content to get on a search results page. And I wish that we were bidirectional here, because I would like to have somebody anybody who's gone beyond page 1 of search to the second page or the third page to actually find what they think they need. You'd probably see maybe 5 or 10 hands out of 200 people raised.
Generous.
I do too, right? So, getting to that first page in search is not an easy thing. And we're going to see why in just a second. But the kinds of content that will get you on the first page of search are determined, honestly, by people hanging around your site once they get there, as well as the search engines are looking for key phrases. Like if I'm going to be typing best charter school near me, I need to see that key phrase, best charter school, on your website. All right, so in the case of Mitch, we might say, we're the best charter school for a STEAM education in the Portland area, right? So a typical search, if you see the screenshot here, in the very top box is where you're typing in charter school near me, which is a very typical search for a parent who is looking for a service. The near me side of those searches have gone crazy. So what happens is when you get your search results more and more, Google has set things up like this so that the first thing you get is a nice big map of all the different charter schools in my zip code, right? So it'll throw up three results in this lovely map, and those results are based on the quality of the content on those websites, as well as you'll notice in the little map box, people have voted and rated those schools pretty high. All right, so that's another element of getting your school listed in SEO. And then way down at the bottom, one organic search result, what we call above the fold, will show up for a totally different school, but it is also near me. All right, so and if you go to the next slide, I've typed in best charter school near me or in my city, right? In Portland, Oregon, in Phoenix, Arizona, etc. A totally different results page will come up. Now, what comes up first here is a paid ad on top of the little map. So in this case, and we're going to use this as an example of paid search all the way through, Connections Academy, because it's January, they are advertising on this particular phrase, best charter schools. They're advertising their online school. They're trying to get those planner parents who are either wanting to move their child in the second semester, or the planner parents who are actually planning on, where's my child going to go to school in September? They start advertising. You've seen the ads on your TV, right? Stephanie is a planner parent. So these folks are really looking in Q1 for Q3. So we have to think about that. So then again, we got the Google My Business results, which you're going to have to list your school in, and it's not hard to do. We'll kind of talk you through that. And then down at the bottom here is a different organic result, because I typed in, excuse me, best charter school versus charter school near me. And that organic result happens to be a listserv from a business called niche.com. So not only do you have an opportunity to create content on your own site, but you can get listed on other people's sites as well. If we could move to the next. Now, this may seem like a whole lot of effort, folks, but if you really think about it, search is where everything starts. When was the last time you didn't go online to get a question answered for which you didn't know the question, right? Or the answer, right? You go online, you ask your friends, but oftentimes we call it at home, ask the Googles, right? So, organic listings can be free. They just take time. They take good content. What you need to do is have a really nice website. It has to have really nice navigation so that people who click on a link and go to your site hang around a while. Google gives you points for that. And then you need to have those keyword phrases like best charter school or charter school actually in copy on your site, so that Google will actually pull your site up as a charter school in the area of around a certain zip code, for example. So your address needs to be on the website, right? And then you need to think about phrases, and this is a great thing for you to ask parents who are new to you. What did they use in their search for a charter school? Because oftentimes people might be looking for alternative schools or something like that. So think about how your parents and others and students might be looking for you. Make a list of those words. See if you find them on your site. If you don't, then maybe you should create some content around those things and get it on your website. Get listed in places like Niche or in great schools, even what's the neighborhood one, Steph?
Next door.
Next door. You can get listed there. And those kinds of listing sites get a lot of visitors. So if you are there, you can almost skip the Googles and get listed there. But the important thing there is that you have people who have rated your school. So you need to make sure people are rating your school. Your current parents are rating your school, and hopefully they're giving you the best ratings you deserve, because then you'll show up well on the maps and on the sites.
Yeah.
So,
and I would reiterate, we can't say enough to get registered with Google My Business.
right.
It costs nothing, and it has so much impact, especially in those near me searches, which Janet mentioned, are going through the roof. As a kind of side note, yesterday we had our colleague Brittany pulling these screen grabs for us, and she saw that French immersion school as one of the search results that came up in that near me search, and now she's researching how to get her little student into that school. So they make an impact, especially with the gradings that they have on them, because it indicates parent involvement and that people like them, just like using Yelp for schools.
That's a really important point, especially for moms, right? And parents. I don't mean to leave dads out of the equation, but especially for moms, we trust our peers. We trust other moms, and so that's why these ratings give a validation from others like me that this kind of thing works.
Totally.
The Yoast on here is, if you use WordPress as your website, there's a tool. It's a free widget, I think, that you can get your web people to put on for you, where you can optimize your site pretty easily. At least, the folks who are in your sphere of influence who really like this kind of thing. It can be kind of a really fun practice. So you'd be surprised. There's probably an SEO geek out there in your community somewhere that you could tap into.
I mean, let's be honest, this stuff is so fun.
It is.
So, find somebody who has a little bit of time to geek out on the side and take advantage.
Right on.
So we're going to move on to paid media, because not everything in life is free. Paid media refers to online and advertising efforts that involve paid placements. So again, we're leveraging this in this case for awareness style tactics that will drive to engagement avenues. Paid media includes Google advertising, branded content, and display ads on community sites, as well as newspapers and advertisements. It's also an essential component of enrollment and awareness strategy if you have the budget. Even if you don't have the budget, I have to say, there are some tiny budgets that can make a significant impact if you think very carefully about where you're spending your money, which is what I would recommend. So I'm going to start with paid search. Janet showed you SEO and how you can optimize your site so that you'll show up in that near me section or that little bottom blurb right there. But as you can see, these days with Google and other search engines, even if you're optimized to the gills and you're going to show up on that page, you're still at the bottom of that page.
Right.
You got to pay to play if you want to be at the top. So paid search is the best tactic for giving maximum visibility to those who are searching for your school on search engines. Organizations bid on search terms or keywords that users are likely to use to find your school.
And can we stop right there? You were about to say this. The paid search is an auction. It's an online auction. So what you do is you say, I'm willing to pay between $5 and $8 a click, for example.
Yep. And I was going to say, the prices for those keywords go up in the high volume time frames. So the majority of your charter school competitors are going to be bidding on these words in August, July, when they're trying to get their enrollment. But the parents you want to have enroll are the planner parents, and they're cheaper, honestly, because you're bidding on the words now when the prices for those words are cheaper. So again, if you look at our funnel, and this is being used as an awareness level strategy, right now you're making them aware of what it is you do. You're driving them to a site that instigates engagement, where you can then follow up with email and social pushes. So it's just trying to pay attention to that funnel and back your tactics out a little bit to save you money and get a higher conversion rate. So keyword examples would include Science Charter School or Phoenix Charter Schools. Try to think of, what is it about my school that somebody might search and ultimately find me. Search engines use a pay-per-click system where the advertisers pay for each click on their ad. So you're not paying every time your ad shows up, only whenever it shows up relevant enough that somebody clicks on it.
And by the way, you only see one ad right there in July. You'll probably see, just the top of a map, because there are going to be three other people that are going to be trying to, and Google does prioritize paid listings because that's how they make their money.
Yep.
Right?
Totally. Display banner ads are another type of digital ad. I shy away from these, to be totally honest. I shared this with Janet before. They're visually engaging display ads to increase brand awareness and target potential customers. But to be totally transparent, they get a pretty low click-through rate. So what you want to do here, if you are going to leverage display ads, is twofold. One, be very selective of the sites that you're putting it on. I think this example is perfect. They're on great schools. You know somebody is searching for schools. So it's good to have your name on there so that you're showing up whether or not you're ranked. Two, don't just put branding information in your display ads. You really want somebody to click on it because that's what you're paying for. And in order to do that, you need to offer up something of value to them. I think Connections Academy does a really good job here, so I don't want to pick on them, but I do think that this ad, for example, could be improved if they had put in here like a free list of, free public charter schools in Oregon. I would probably click on that. Instead, they're using a did you know approach here, and I'm probably not going to click on that ad.
The other thing they could have done better is make their logo bigger, because this is a branding opportunity, and you kind of have to look and see who that is, right?
Yeah.
So make it obvious who it is, and then make a very compelling offer that Stephanie would click on, for example.
And like I said, they appear next to content on various websites in text, image, or video format, but they're best for increasing brand awareness, and that's often because you're not going to get the click-through. I think that this is one that you kind of chalk up to the brand awareness and being everywhere that people are when they're looking for schools, because whether or not they click on it this time, they're probably going to recognize Connections Academy the next time they see something come out from them.
And you'll see I remember 5 years ago when I was working with K-12, they would take over grade schools and during the August, September timeframe, where they would take over the first impression when somebody typed it in. There would be an ad that would appear, and then it was on every single page. So those kinds of tactics, if you are running, you just need a few more students to get your enrollment numbers to be perfect. This may be in very specific places like grade schools. It may be a good tactic just to make sure that you are part of the consideration.
Yeah.
But not during July and August. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg to do so.
Unless you're very, very specific with your targeting. So the other great thing about display ads is that you can target them in a number of ways: specific websites, specific time of day, specific geography. So if you're only looking for students in zip code 97201, that's our zip code, you won't be looking for students there, then you can segment down to that level so that you're only paying for ads for those folks. Now, once you've clicked on that ad, just be prepared that then there's the opportunity for retargeted ads. So these are image advertisements to target users who have previously visited your website. They haven't yet converted. They're kind of interested, so you want to push information back out to them. Ironically, Janet had grabbed that previous screen grab I just showed you and then went on Fandango, and Connections Academy showed right back up. So they're doing a really good job with their retargeting efforts.
Yep.
It reminds visitors of your school while they're out doing other things online, so this isn't targeted to those specific websites like display ads are. And most visitors don't take action on the first visit on your website, so this is a way to remind them of you. And this is where your branding becomes really important, because whether they know that they saw it or not, the fact that your logo is on there, similar font styles and colors, and a similar image, it tells the brain that they have seen that before, and it just reinforces what they saw. It keeps your school top of mind when they are ready to attend an open house or enroll. And then social ads. I love social ads because they're significantly cheaper, they're highly targeted, and frankly, it's where millennials spend most of their days, including myself. I just had to take Facebook app off of my phone. So, wow. I know, it's a commitment. They use visually engaging ads in social media to target your audience in a variety of ways. So social ads can appear in a few ways. One, like regular content in your stream. So you can see here in this LinkedIn ad, the 5 trends every CMO should know. That's a sponsored ad. However, it provides content of value. So my strategy here would be to, if I were you guys, do this on Facebook with the 5 top charter schools in the state of Arizona. And then when somebody clicks on it, you have the information on them, and they are now engaging with your brand. Social ads can also appear alongside the content, more like a display ad. But remember what we said about the display ads and making sure that you're A, targeting them, and B, making sure that there's relevant content, because we're not using this as an enrollment tactic. We're using it as an engagement tactic. Social ads are also extremely targeted, so even more so here because you've given so much more information to your social media outlets. Mm-hmm. I know that you're a mom. I know that you're 29 and that you live within 20 miles of my zip code, so I'm going to target you. Hopefully now that you know all this stuff, you're not as creeped out whenever those Zappos shoes are following you around your web world, because this is why. And then I'd be remiss in not mentioning some alternate paid media options. So, direct mailers, that's not digital, but we have so much information because of our digital outlets that you can do this at a lot lower cost than it used to be. You're not just spray and play here anymore. I was talking to a charter school at a dinner a couple of months ago that was saying that they're specifically trying to target new families that are moving into the area because there's a really high turnover in moving in and out. My suggestion there was look into mover packets. Every time you change your address with USPS, they send you a packet, it has ads in it. Every time I've ever moved, I've looked at every one of those discounts because they tend to be good ones. This is a great opportunity for a school to include something about an open house that they have or learn more about schools in the area. In fact, you can even partner up with other schools and do one together so that you're adding value to the community. Additionally, there's newsletter sponsorships. So if there's like a local community group or things like that you can jump on, direct mailers I mentioned, sponsored articles or next door. So sponsored articles, I mean like your local newspaper, see what you can do to throw in an article about a success story with your charter school. Or next door, it's basically a social media of sorts for neighborhoods to say, I have space in my, my compost bin if somebody wants to use it. Or watch out for those cat eating, I always want to say cougars.
Coyotes.
My husband's like, we don't have cougars. But you can also post on there about, school open houses or, enrollment availability within your school. So take advantage of those alternate methods. But my biggest piece of advice is you don't need a very big budget for paid media. You just need to sit and think of who you're trying to target and what they're looking at and strategically use those dollars.
Can we spend just a moment talking about budget, Steph?
Yeah.
Because I know that budget is just the number one concern for most people. I mean, it is for me here at Charter School Capital. So one of the things that we recommend social media is you can spend $25 and test how many moms or parents you can reach around your zip code, and it'll probably take you a ways, right?
Yeah.
Even $25. Now I know that in July, August, and early September, people are spending. We at K-12 we used to spend, tens of thousands of dollars a month on pay-per-click ads alone, and that was just a part of the budget. So if you have an idea that you want to spend a little money on paid, try it and test like Stephanie says.
I totally agree. We did get a question from somebody who was asking what the difference is between an enrollment ad and an engagement ad.
Good question.
So it's a great question. Enrollment ad would be something where you're posting, enroll today, spots available. You're trying to get them right down to the bottom of the funnel. Whereas an engagement ad would be something like an ad promoting a top 5 list of blah, 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 blah. In other words, the call to action there, that thing that you're trying to get them to do, is to engage with you instead of immediately enroll. The only reason for doing that, because I feel like you guys would probably be like, well, we just want them to enroll.
Right.
The reason you do that is because you're going to get a much higher conversion rate on those engagement ads. And then once you have their information, you can start marketing to them through owned media like email and social to ultimately get them to enroll. But the trick is to first capture their information so that you can do that, and engagement ads are the easiest way to do so.
And you're establishing trust with the parents who are looking around at different alternatives. And if you're the organization, if you're the school that comes back with really meaty information that is relevant to what they're looking for and those kinds of offers, there's nothing better to establish trust.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm going to use you guys and us as an example right now. So we could totally push out an email that says, "Bond with us today, and here's why it's so great." But you may not know us, you may not trust us, So our best methodology for, building that relationship is to offer resources. And so this right here is an engagement tactic.
Another question has come up: what is the best strategy for a charter with low income population? So
that's a really good question.
That's a really good question. It kind of segues into our next section, which is next two sections, which are email and events. In terms of paid ads and in terms of offers for a low-income population, we need to make sure that we are not treating them differently from others in terms of the content. I don't think that you're offering, but that you become very, very relevant to them. You look like it would be very comfortable. You want to make the parents go, "I want my kid to be there through all of this." So you might experiment with things like direct mail.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference whenever you're with the different audiences is where you're going to be doing your marketing efforts. So if you're in a lower income area where your concern is a lot of these folks don't have a computer and aren't on their computer very often, look to avenues outside of that. We're not talking much about physical marketing because this is a digital marketing webinar, but have, posters in the local grocery store, have that mailers thing was a really good example because there's a high turnover rate in low-income communities of where people are moving. Have flyers at the local churches, things like that. And just know that when people are doing their searches, they're probably doing it on their phone. So mobile is even more important.
Yeah, make sure you're mobile because most kids and most families today have mobile phones, period. So that's where social media comes in really well too. Facebook, those kinds of things. Make sure you show up in Facebook and elsewhere where your Instagram could be an option for you. Those kinds of things.
Yeah, and outside of the income level, there's also the age group of your school. So if you're marketing to try to gain enrollment in a K through 12, for example, you're really targeting the parents. If you're talking to trying to drive enrollment for a high school level age group, you're talking to the students themselves. And so social is even more important, and trying to create campaigns to get students to talk to other people from their soccer team and things like that to leverage them as a brand evangelist for you.
And we'll talk about social as not ad side, but just being social in social media in a moment.
Yeah. Quick checklist on paid media. Identify your budget. Even if it's $0, even if it's $25, we spend significantly less than I think you would assume we do as a finance organization. It really doesn't take much if you're being very strategic and very smart and very targeted with where your money is going. It takes time, obviously. That's probably the biggest suck there. But you can be very smart with your budget because there's just so much intel in digital marketing now.
As long as you have a good offer. Something that people want about you, people will exchange their email for it.
Yep. That learn more call to action is useless these days, unfortunately. Based on your audience and goals, select paid outlets you think will get the most attention. Again, not all of you need to be on pay-per-click. Not all of you need to be on Bing ads. Not all of you need, display ads. But think through where your parents or where your students are going and push your budget there. Build relevant content to engage the audience with the thought on the outlet you're using. So like I said, the learn more rarely gets a click these days. So download now or register now or things like that, something that are more actionable, those get a much higher conversion rate. And then test and optimize. This is nothing's forever in digital ads, so you can really adjust and improve as you go. Email. Email's my bread and butter. I love me some email. And it is the best for keeping your school top of mind with folks who opt in for your updates. You can create personalized messages, newsletters for your students, parents, and potential parents. The cost is effective and relatively easy to implement. The cost is so low. It's free in most cases. Well, I'll talk about some exceptions. Email is easy for readers to share and for schools to track. Challenge here, obviously, is that you need their email addresses. So all those other tactics we talked about are driving to positive resources that incentivize them to give us their email address so that we can now have the conversation on our terms with a little bit more room to talk, if that makes sense. Almost everyone reads their email on their phones these days, so keep it mobile friendly. You've heard this 1,000 times. I don't think that I need to reiterate it, but when you can, let images do the talking. We've included a resource here, Unsplash. The images are free. Copy and text should be a minimum of 15-point font. Don't make them struggle. Make it easy.
Help.
And then follow spam compliance. So canned spam law is really complicated, but if you're using an email service provider, they do a lot of the work for you. Technically, you can email an address one time without their opt-in, and then after that, they need to go off to marketing suspended, or they need to opt in order for you to reach out to them again. Granted, there's no guys in FBI vests knocking on your door if you're doing it wrong, but there's no reason to open yourself up to that kind of risk, so just be careful. When you need to include your school's name, address, and phone number, and you need to make sure to give your readers the ability to unsubscribe in every email. Bonus credit if you have a preferences page instead of just an unsubscribe so that they can opt out of some materials but not all. Now, this is one of those areas where I say do what I say, not what I do, because I don't have my preferences page built yet. You guys should definitely do it.
And most email platforms will make you follow spam compliance.
Mm-hmm.
So this little list right here that Stephanie's given you, they will require you to fill these kinds of things out. So they'll help you along the way.
The next challenge is your actual list. So find an easy-to-use and cost-efficient email service provider. I'll list a few on the next page for you guys. Build your list organically by providing helpful, engaging content. So all those tactics we talked about before, those should be organically building your list out. It's never safe to purchase lists because you're going to get a lot of bounces. It's going to hurt your deliverability rate. And ultimately, those people didn't sign up to hear from you, so you're going to get a high spam rate. Keep your list clean. If a person hasn't opened or clicked an email in the last 12 months, remove them from your list. They're either not interested or they don't exist at that email address anymore. So for your sake and theirs, just remove them. Because what happens is if these people aren't opening the emails, it hurts your deliverability rate, which ultimately means more emails are going into spam, and your open rate goes down even further, hurting, again, your deliverability rate. So it's kind of snowballed, so it's important to keep that clean. You've worked hard on getting those names on there, so it's kind of hard to take them off sometimes, but you don't want to completely get blocked and never make it into people's inbox. And then, like I said before, provide a preference page for people to select how often and what content they want to get from you. Coming soon from Charter School Capital.
Yeah, come check us out. I was going to mention, if you want to see these kinds of things done well, look at some of your competitors. Look at, subscribe to something that the folks over at Connections Academy does, so that you can follow them and understand what they do, so that you can look at your own school and say, well, how might I do that differently? That might be an interesting way to do it, right?
I do it all the time.
Right?
With brands that I know are doing a great job with email. My promotions tab in Google is ridiculous. I get so much stuff just to see what others are doing and what made me want to open the email. Map your content, your audience, your objective, and your cadence. And then pick an email service provider. I've listed a few here. Constant Contact and Campaign Monitor are free. MailChimp are cheap. MailChimp is free for the first X number of people on your list. So that's a great one to start with. It's super easy to use. I was volunteering for the Salvation Army for a while in their email program, and that's exactly what I implemented. Pick an email service provider, establish and segment your list, so divided between parents and board members and staff so that you're not oversending anybody. And then build your emails based on that content mapping you did. Keep your data clean, and then test and optimize. All of these tools have the ability to A/B test. The first thing that you'll really dive into are your email addresses. That's what's getting people to open or not open your email address, or open the email. And then after that, you'll start diving into what content is most relevant. So that's the click-through rate, really. And then on to social media.
Yeah, so we're going to quickly wrap up with social and a little bit about events. So if you have questions that you want us to answer, again, we're going to do a poll at the end to figure out what you want to do a deeper dive in next, and we'll take care of that for you. But social media is really important that you are active in social media because parents get a lot of their information from social, from their friends. You know, there's nothing better than knowing what your friends are doing for schools, especially if your children play together, that kind of thing. It's easy to ask those in physical proximity, but it's even easier to cast a wider net via social. And it's going to improve your enrollment odds, especially if you're dealing with older kids, because the kids themselves are going to be in social, and they're going to be able to see that you're participating there in an active way. So first off, you've got a lot of options in social media. We've listed, 6 of the top options here. You have to figure out by just asking them, where do your parents hang out? Where do they get the most of their information? Do they do Facebook? Are they on Instagram? If they do Instagram more than Facebook, maybe you should do Instagram more than Facebook, that kind of thing. Kids are moving towards Twitter. They're in Snapchat. Professionals. So if you're looking for new board members, you're looking for new volunteers, you may want to look at LinkedIn to do some social promotions of what your school is all about. And then YouTube. I mean, there's nothing better than a video, guys. The reason we're transmitting our faces, if you choose to watch us, is that people are doing business with people all the time. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your social posts have photos. A picture is worth 1,000 words. If you have an opportunity to take pictures of your kids and you have permission to post them on social media, that's very, very important to get the parent permission. Show the kids in action. Show the teachers in action. Make sure that you're exposing what's inside your school to the outside world as best you can, because that will give people an opportunity to see before they actually come through the door. And there's no better way to do it than in social media. And when you post, every single post should read with the goal that parents would say, oh, I really want my child to be a part of that. And remember, back to the mom's expectation. They want to know that the organizations that they're going to be sending their children to share their values. They want to have it be recommended by other parents. And this is really where social media can make that connection, just like that. Alrighty, next up. There we are, your social media checklist. Again, we could spend hours on social itself, but really find out where your best audience is, and then you pick one and do it every day. Pick one place to go in social and post every day. 1 or 2 posts, not going to hurt anybody, and it's really going to help your school get visibility with people, especially those millennial moms and even Gen X moms that are looking out for their kids in social media. And you're making the school be relevant to both the parents and the students, especially for older students. So make sure you're looking like you're at least participating in areas where they might be looking around for a new school. And then make sure your photos are good. Make sure you get permission for posting the pictures of your staff and your students, staff too. And then I've always said, I've been in social media since the inception back in 2005, I think it was. When in doubt, don't. If you have a gut feeling or kind of a worry about any kind of post, just don't do it. It'll save you energy, time, and a lot of grief. So those are pretty much easy things to think about. Now, as you post every day, you worry a little bit about how am I going to get that done. Hootsuite is a free tool. Buffer is a free tool. Post Schedule is I believe, a free tool, as is every post that will allow you to schedule posts a week out so that, on Monday you can just take a bunch of photos and pick the days and the channel that you want them to go to, and you spend 20 minutes on a Monday, and you're done for the week. That's an easy way to do it, and that's what these tools will help you do. And then events. So event marketing for you, this is the bottom of the funnel, folks. This is you've made them aware of you, you've engaged you, and now this is really where you're going to get into the enrollment side of things, closing the parents on your school. Event marketing is one of the most memorable. It's one of the most important things, and we realize all these digital efforts are working to get you to an actual event in your community where you can meet parents. Real life experiences are more profound than ever in the digital age. So it's important that you offer up parents real life experiences with your staff and your volunteers. All right. Hold regular open houses all year long. So make sure you always have an open house on Tuesdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Parents can drop in. That's a really great way to just be open about when you will accept people just poking around, especially when students aren't there and it's not disruptive. Open up plays, the workshops that you're doing, events that you've got for the community. Make sure you put a call out on social. Everyone's welcome to these particular things. Social is a great way to get your events amplified. Make sure that, especially during this critical first quarter, that you hold enrollment events to capture those planner parents in the community. Ice cream parlors are great, have a pizza night, those kinds of things. Go to the library and be in the library, your local library, for a few hours, just with an information booth.
Yeah, I would add to that, don't be afraid. I know that other charter schools in the area are technically your competitor, but for the sake of the student, they're really just looking for whichever school is the best fit for them. This weekend, I noticed that there were a bunch of preschools and charter schools with tables at my gym, and they were just having a school open house session. And so, we toured around to see where we want Avery to go next year.
Right.
So one of the best ways to kind of take advantage of the event idea is to do it with other schools so that you're minimizing the logistical effort in front of it.
Great. And then make sure of enrollment months, June, July, August, that you're in the community a lot and that you are available a lot. You can get volunteer parents to help, but start planning those now. So, summer vacation gets really busy, and by July, it's oftentimes too late to get that last push unless you're planning it now. So we've left an event checklist here. You can read through this, but truly, if you want to get the kids to feel good about your school, when you have an event, set up a geofilter. And these little screenshots are examples of geofilters in Snapchat, especially for the older kids, so that they will feel proud to come to your school. There's very good. We will post in our follow-on emails. We'll post how to find these kinds of things, and you just go to Snapchat and they'll set you up on how to do that. It's a fun thing to do.
Totally. So we did get one more question asking, does a low email open rate affect SEO? No, it doesn't have any impact on SEO. But how else can a low open rate negatively impact you if you wanted to send an email to old subscribers? This is a really good question. These are what I called Wake the Dead campaigns. So it's morbid. But you're trying to re-engage old subscribers, and it's kind of dangerous to do it on your primary email service provider. So we use Marketo as our email service provider, and if you get a low enough deliverability rate, they can fire you as a client because you're hurting their overall IP. What I would suggest doing is sending it out of an alternate email service provider. So get a different MailChimp account, import that list. That way, if you get a really low open deliverability or click-through rate on it, it's not going to hurt your primary IP address. You'll use a separate email address that you're sending from and a separate email service provider. And then those that don't bounce, and especially those that get opened, you can absorb those back into your primary system. But it's a great question. I wouldn't just take an old list and hit it again, because you're going to hurt your deliverability of your whole system if you do it in the same one.
Great idea.
Yeah. And I just want to say that if you guys have additional questions, Janet and I have put our information out here. Feel free to, call us or email us. To be honest, email is the best way to reach me. I'm happy to answer any other questions. Yeah. I love this stuff.
We do. We both love it. It's a passion. So, and we really do enjoy doing this. So, as a last push, we would like your opinion on, is there anything that you would like to see us focus on for a next step for this particular campaign?
So, yeah, we definitely kind of did a brush over the top on a lot of tactics here. So we'd like to know if there's one in particular that you'd like us to deep dive into. So we're going to do a quick poll, vote for the topic that you'd like us to cover next, and we'll go from there.
Okay, we have another question from the audience that we can answer while people are doing the poll.
What is a good open rate for an email campaign?
What is a good open rate, Stephanie, for an email campaign?
I always get this question, not just externally, but internally as well. So it really depends on the industry. It really depends on your list. Traditionally we aim for a 20 to 25% open rate, but that's because our list is pretty well groomed. If you're just purchasing a list and sending from it, you're going to get an open rate of like 5 or 6% probably. So there are a lot of factors at play, but what I would do is look at the emails that you've done in the past. If you have, average those out as your benchmark that you're trying to beat going forward. And there are a few key factors that affect your open rate. The content in your email doesn't actually affect your open rate. It's more about what's in the subject line, what's in the pre-header, and who the email is coming from. So if you're struggling to get people to open your email, I often try sending it from somebody within your organization through the ESP. But I'm sure you guys have noticed every once in a while you'll get an email from Stuart Ellis. Those are coming from me. So, because people tend to open an email better, or more inclined to, if they see a person instead of an info at, or even grow charters at, which is what we send out of. So those are the things that affect it. Open rate totally depends. There's a great article from, I think it's from MailChimp actually, talking about standard open rates. So we'll go ahead and post that after this session so that you guys have that as well.
Great, and we just want to say thank you so much for spending an hour with us today. Your time is so valuable. Yeah, it has been fun, and it looks like most people have voted. We'll leave the polls open a little longer, but I think I really appreciate the time that we've been able to spend with you.
I know. Really good questions too.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it looks like with about 85% of the polling in, it looks like social media is kind of the winner right now, with a website a distant second, and then SEO a distant third, not so distant third. So
I'm assuming that's because I covered email and paid media so well. Not because you guys are intimidated by those tactics.
Oh, that's great. Well, again, thank you so much. You'll get an email from us with the resources and a copy of the recording, or a link to the recording. Thanks all.
Thank you all.